late now here is NC State going to the low post, and gosh.
C.J. Williams, à nouveau, à 3 points, il est bien placé, C.J. Williams, qui remercie le ciel du Palais des Sports.
Clay Johnson, now being the three for sure. Williams for the bingo! C.J. Williams.
I'm focused on the game, I'm focused on what I'm doing. I can't really think about how, what's going to happen in the future. I just have to play.
Hello, this is CJ Williams, and welcome to the Courtside Chronicles Cafe, a look inside the life of a professional athlete. Now, a lot of people may be wondering, why would I do something like this, or what am I going to talk about? Well, I felt that this first episode should be my background, my life, my career, so that you guys get to know me better. I'll start with my high school career. Coming into high school, I was one of the best players in my city, in my district. I was pretty much known as one of the best, if not the best player of my age group. And I was deciding what school I wanted to go to. I had no idea. And I lived in one city district, and I wanted to play for a different coach. I ended up getting the opportunity to go to a school that was outside of my district, and it ruffled a few feathers and everything. But I feel that it worked out for both sides. And I got to play for one of the most influential coaches I ever had, and Coach Isaiah Walker, Jr., by the way. He was a guy who he had a way about him, a charisma about him that was very calming and very understanding of his players and who his players were and how to get the best out of his players. Coach Walker was actually one of the people who helped instill some discipline in my life. There were times we would have the week and I would come in and shoot over the weekend, and he would open the gym to me. Like, it was at any hour that I asked. I bet if I asked him at 3 a.m., like, hey, coach, like, I can't sleep. Can you come to the gym and let's get some shots up? He'd be okay with that. But yeah, he was definitely one of the most influential coaches. And so, I go into my freshman year, I had no idea that I would become a big part of what our school did basketball-wise. My freshman year, I was behind a senior, and I was playing a little bit, but I wasn't playing a lot. But by the end of the season, I was getting more playing time. I had become more comfortable on the team, and I was able to kind of carve a role out of my freshman year team. And we ended up going to the playoffs, and we lost in the first round, but it was a very good experience for me and everything. And that led into my sophomore year, which was probably the most balanced team that I had in my sophomore year. We had 4 all-conference, all-district players in the starting lineup, and our 5th guy was really the key cog to what we did and how well we played. He was the point guard, so he kind of helped us to be able to organize and get into our offenses, and he was pressuring the ball defensively. It was amazing playing on that team and seeing just how we could do things the right way and play the right way every game. Unfortunately, that year, we get to the conference tournament championship, and our best player that year, John Fields, actually ended up getting hurt and dislocating his kneecap. It was an unfortunate situation. Things didn't. It messed us up. And so our next game, we ran into a buzzsaw in Raleigh Broughton, and we played them in the playoffs first round, and we unfortunately didn't actually beat them or anything like that. But my coach kind of showed me what the next year would look like by making sure that I played a lot. I I played probably like 30 minutes, 30 out of 32 minutes, and I actually ended up finishing with like 24 points and like 10 or 11 rebounds. And my coach kind of told me after the game, like, once John went down, he was kind of looking and he wanted to win the game. But if at some point he felt that we couldn't win the game, he was going to go ahead and just show me how next year would go. We were going to be retooling as a whole and everything. And so that led into my junior year, my best statistical year as a high school athlete. I actually ended up winning Conference Player of the Year, District Player of the Year, second team All-State. And I was actually, we were really good. And I would say maybe a little top heavy because our first group was so good. And we ended up, doing well in the conference. I think we finished third or fourth or something like that. And then we get to the conference tournament and we lost in the final again to 71st, which was the school that I actually passed up to go to. And that led into the playoffs. And we get to the playoffs and we go on the road to Raleigh Sanderson. And their team was just so balanced and disciplined. And I remember that game very vividly because it came down to the end and we were able to kind of give ourselves a chance to win. And when we didn't win the game, it was really rough. A lot of guys were frustrated, angry, all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that was more of the fuel for my senior year, which was probably it was my most successful team winning year of high school. And it's funny, I actually, my sophomore and junior year, I actually played at the 4 spot. And in my senior year, I ended up moving to point guard out of necessity because we had a guy, Brandon Nichols, who was very good at point guard, but he was just young and inexperienced at the time. And he was a very good slasher from the wing. He could make a shot, stuff like that. And then we had Cornelius Snow, who was probably one of the best shooters I've ever played with. And that's not hyperbolic. He could make shots from anywhere at any time. And so with that being said, my coach kind of moved me to point guard and it made us more dangerous because teams were so focused on me from the previous year that they thought that I would try to force and score because that's what I was known for. But I was able to make the adjustment to playing point guard, and I was able to start, dishing the ball and able to get my teammates involved, and it made us all better. And so that led to us losing only one conference game. I think we only lost 4 games the entire year. Unfortunately, we lost in the state semifinal to Apex High School. It was a rough game. It was on me. I got in some early foul trouble and I came back in, and instead of kind of imposing my will, I kind of tried to let the game come to me, and it never did. It never did. And I ended up, making a mistake at the end of the game, and it cost us the game. But that led to me going to North Carolina State University. Go back. We were actually pretty good my freshman year as far as talent-wise. It just never came together. I came in and I was a starter right away. And then we ran into some injuries. And we kind of hit a little rough patch. And then when we hit that rough patch, we never really came back. And it was tough. It was tough. But I got a lot of experience out of that, and it was good. But it was good in the end. was not good going through it, losing so many games and stuff like that. But we ended up figuring out a way to get to the conference, get through the conference tournament, and I started preparing for my sophomore year, where I expected to have a bigger role. We got a couple guys in, and they were, very, very talented. And so at the beginning of the year, I was starting, and then my coach decided to go with a different formula, and that put me to the bench. And going to the bench from being a starter most of your freshman year and most of your sophomore year, and then going to the bench, it was a little rough mentally. It was hard for me to kind of adjust to my new role in the middle of the season specifically. So I kind of did not play as well as I should have. And that led to a lot of difficulty when it came to my junior year. My junior year, we had one of the best recruiting classes in the country. We got guys like Ryan Harrow, TJ Leslie, Lorenzo Brown, all very good, very, very good players. And my coach kind of felt the formula that he started with in the second half of my sophomore season was the formula that he wanted to go into this season with. So he stuck with the 2-point guard lineup. Lorenzo obviously was 6'4", so it wasn't like it was a short lineup or anything like that. It actually worked for most of the season, but we struggled again. And then we got to the conference tournament, and it was interesting. We had an opportunity to win, and it just we stayed in the game, but we didn't push through to make that run to win the game. And then we ended up losing, and it was rough. I actually initially had begun to think about changing schools just for my senior year, because I wanted an opportunity to play for a team that was going to be in the tournament. And that led to me meeting the next most influential coach that I had. Probably, if I'm being perfectly transparent, he is the reason that I'm still playing basketball today. After my junior year, I was beginning to think that, basketball was not in my plans, that I wasn't going to be able to play professionally. Obviously, I didn't know much about overseas basketball, but I kind of just was like, I'm really good in school, so I might as well start focusing on school, use my scholarship to get my education, and then, start looking for my job. And it's an interesting story. He comes into NC State, Coach Godfrey, and he starts to impose his culture, the type of culture that he wanted to build. And it was interesting because it was a little bit opposite of what I was used to. My first 3 years, my coach was just a different style of coach, and he preferred more of the professional style where guys got it on their own. In the college ranks, my Coach Godfrey kind of made sure that someone was available to help us at all times. And I wouldn't say either way is perfect or either way is the best, but for me, Coach Godfrey's style fit better. And I was able to, stay for my senior year. And the story that I wanted to tell was, so he brings us in, and we have an opportunity to work out and together as a team. And, he tells us that, okay, we're going to work out, and then you guys are going to play, and I'm going to watch you guys play. And then we're going to have individual meetings to talk about what your role will be the next year. So we get into the pickup, and I played very, very well. I was playing so well that some of my teammates were kind of, I wouldn't say shocked, but pleasantly surprised is probably the words I would use. And so after the pickup, he tells us he's going to have an individual meeting with everyone, and we start talking. And when it was funny that he had an individual meeting with everyone. And then when it came to me, it seemed like he was avoiding me. I had no idea why, but I kind of went in and I decided to go and talk to him. And when I go to talk to him, he tells me that he had some things that came up and he had to take care of them. And I was one of the people he wanted to talk to the most. So he opens up this book, and I guess it's his notepad or something. And I'm like, well, coach, look, I'm a senior. Like, this is what I want out of my senior year. Like, I don't want to be on a team where I'm not a part of it, or I don't feel like I don't feel like a major part of the team. Like, this might be my last year playing basketball. And I continue. And he actually cuts me off and he says, so last year, it shows me that you made 6 3-pointers the entire season. But in a 45-minute pickup, I watched you make 9 threes. Tell me about that. So I kind of tell him that I had lost confidence in myself and stuff like that, and that I was unsure of how to play basketball in my ex-coach's style. And so he tells me that he believes in me, that the starting job was actually mine to lose. So he was going to give me the starting job. I was already a captain since my sophomore year, and he was going to make me a captain again. But I needed to make sure that I was the senior leader. And then he asked me defensively to guard the best player on the other team. And I told him, I said, that's easy, coach. Like, that's just basketball to me. So he told me that he would never say a single word to me on offense as long as I'm playing defense. And he honestly never said anything to me offensively. He trusted my IQ and he trusted the player that I was. And I ended up becoming voted as the most improved player in the ACC that year. And I was actually shocked, but I mean, shocked is a big word. I would say pleasantly surprised, as I said before. And I went from playing maybe 15, 20 minutes a game to averaging the second most behind Lorenzo at 35.4 minutes per game. And we ended up making it to the Sweet 16, and it still haunts me to this day, losing to Kansas, who eventually lost to Kentucky in the national championship game. We lost to them by 3 in the Sweet 16. And it was tough. It was tough. It was a tough game. But I definitely enjoyed my senior year so much. And that led to me beginning to believe that I could play professional basketball. After the season, I decided to start meeting with some agents. And when I met with the agents, I kind of had a goal in mind. And it was interesting to meet these guys and see them. And I guess some of them would say that they were realistic, but I was a big dreamer. So when I would go into these meetings, I actually went into a meeting and this agent asked me what my goal was in my career. And I told him my goal was to play in the NBA. He literally laughed in my face. And he told me to be realistic and come on, let's focus on what can actually be accomplished. Instantly, I knew he wasn't the agent for me. I used that for a long, long time as motivation to improve and get better and accomplish what I had dreamt of since I was 5 years old. So I ended up meeting with who's my current agent now. He's been my agent the entire time, my entire career, Jamie Knox. I tell him the same thing. My goal is to make it to the NBA. He tells me I believe in you. I think you can make it into the NBA. It's going to be a little tough, but we can come up with a 5-year plan. It may include with you going overseas. Um, I said, okay, like, all right, you are on the same path as me. Like, you mentally know, like, I knew it was going to be tough, but I knew that is what I wanted to accomplish in my life. Like, of all the things I've accomplished in life, that was the one thing that, you dream as a kid. And for someone to finally tell me, like, okay, we can come up with a plan to get you there. Take my rookie season, and I end up going to Cyprus, and I'm in Cyprus, and we're a very good team. Not expected to be big, but we were a very good team, and we ended up finishing second in the league. We go to the playoffs. We have a bye, and we play in the second round. When we play in the second round, this team brings in a guy from the Greek national team. And it was rough. We had no answer for him. He was older at the time, but he was still so skilled and everything. And we ended up losing the playoff series 3-1. And it was rough, but I ended up finishing top 10 in scoring, or top 5 in scoring. And I ended up getting an opportunity to play in Egypt, but I chose to come home. It was my first time being away from home for so long. I was ready to go home. So I went home, and then I ended up getting a G League tryout with at the time, D League, which was the Los Angeles Defenders, the Lakers D League team. And that's when I probably met the next most influential coach in my career, Bob McKinnon. He makes me smile. That's my guy, man. And he actually believed in me before the D League's management believed in me. They didn't think that I was good enough to play for them, and they didn't think that I could be a top prospect. And at the time, they used to do a top 30 prospect list, and I got as high as like 15, I believe. That year, started out not playing a lot at all. And my coach Coach Bob just told me, stick with it, just keep going every day, working hard, playing, learning, developing your game and stuff like that. And by the end of the year, I was a regular starter. I was regularly in like the top prospects list, and having games that, it was just a good experience overall. By the end of the year, we get to the playoffs, and unfortunately, we ran into Seth Curry and Cam Jones, Damian Jones, like all these guys that played multiple years in the league, and we ended up losing to them in the playoffs. But I was able to get an opportunity to go to play in summer league, and that was with the Milwaukee Bucks. I get to go to Vegas and play with those guys. And that year was a very talented summer league team. Nate Walters was the point guard. I played at the 2. Giannis was at the 3. Jabari Parker was at the 4, and Johnny O'Brien at the 5. We were very, very talented, but in summer league, sometimes it can be hard to come together and build a chemistry that cultivates winning. And obviously, that's not the goal of summer league, is not to win the summer league. The goal is to improve, get better, learn through playing. So I was able to play that summer league, and did well. And after that summer league, I was kind of thinking like maybe I'll have an opportunity to play in the NBA. Well, I ended up going overseas again, played in Italy. And man, Italy was fun. Had a great group of guys on my team: Langston Hall, Gilbert Brown, Landon Milburn, first Lanton Johnson, then Tony Easley. Those guys, we actually still talk to this day. Not regularly, but enough. and everything. And we had a great year, great year. I finished top 10 in scoring again. We finished ninth. We were one game out of the playoffs. But the experience overall was so good for me because I learned how to be able to play the overseas game that year. To understand that you have to play the right way and take what the defense can give you. And then you can, once you get them on their heels, now you can get into what you want. That next year, I went, and after that, I played summer league with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This was the year they drafted Karl Anthony Towns. We played very well. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Zach LaVine was on the team as well. Lorenzo Brown was with us as well, and we did pretty good. We did pretty good. But again, like I said, summer league is meant to grow individually, not necessarily team success is not the first thing on everyone's mind. So we played well, and that got me a deal to play in France for the first time. I was in Dijon, and we had a very, very good team that year as well. We had a team that was very defensive minded, that was probably my best defensive team that I've been a part of. Dave Holston, even though some people may say he's too small, he was such a good defender and so good with his hands and just active, and he could score when he wanted to. He was a point guard. Ryan Brooks was a very defensive minded transition guy. In the half court, could get to his mid range whenever he wanted to. I was at the three. Miles Hessen from the UK, he was very, very good that year. Very pick and pop, could shoot it, drive it, was super athletic, and he didn't look so athletic. He was just a guy that kind of fit our team. And then Tyler Kane was a rebounding monster. What I wouldn't say not athletic, but on the under average side of being athletic. And he was the type that would, just come out of the game and have 9 points, maybe 12 rebounds. But we had a very good team, and then our French guys were super good as well. But that year we had one bad stretch during the season, and it put us right outside of the playoffs. We finished ninth. We won 19 games and missed the playoffs. That tells you how good we were and how good the league was that year. So going into that summer, I was kind of in the mindset of, man, I don't know if I want to play summer league. So I told my agent, if I don't play for the Spurs, I don't want to play for summer league at all. Well, I get a call from him, and we're talking about guys getting drafted during the NBA draft that year. And right before he hangs up the phone, he says, "Oh, CJ, by the way, pack your bags. You're going to San Antonio." And hangs up the phone. And I call him back. I'm like, "What? You said I'm going to San Antonio?" I said, "Yeah, you said if you can't get San Antonio for summer league, then you don't want to go to summer league." Well, San Antonio called. They want you to come for summer league. So I decided to go with them for summer league, and I got to play for the legendary Becky Hammon. Man, when you talk about basketball minds, she's at the top of the list. She's one of the best basketball minds I've ever seen firsthand. And you can see the Coach Pop influence on her, and just the accountability of being a basketball player, being a part of a team. So played summer league that year. We did very well. We did pretty good. We got to the quarterfinal, I believe. And so then I decided with it being my 5th year out, I would give the NBA one more chance. At this point, it changed from the D League changed from the D League to the G League. This was the first year. And I actually got to play with Coach McKinnon again. He was in Texas. He got me a deal to where I would go to training camp with the Mavericks. And I got to play with Dirk Nowitzki, Wesley Matthews, guys like Harrison Barnes. Yeah, Harrison was there. But yeah, I got to play with those guys, and it was interesting, playing against Harrison playing with Harrison because I had played against him in college. So yeah, and then I ended up going to the G League team, and we had, man, so many good guys: Pierre Jackson, Manny Harris, Jamil Warney, Kyle Collinsworth, Keith Hornsby, Gary Neal, Ben Gordon, Jared Utoff, AJ Hammond. The list goes on. We had so many good guys, and that year it was tough to win a lot of games because the lineup was changing so much, with guys getting called up and going and playing on the NBA team for 10-day contracts and everything. So we get to the summer after that year, and I actually get a call from Team USA, and they start using the G League players for some of these qualifying tournaments. And I get there, and I meet Coach Jeff Van Gundy, and one of my favorite guys as well. He always showed love to me no matter what. And we actually practiced a lot down at the University of Houston. And there were NBA teams that were coming by to see us and watch us practice and see how we play together and everything. And then we go down to Argentina. When we get to Argentina, we have to play against some good national teams. Uruguay, Dominican Republic. There's one other team. The Virgin Islands. We played all of them. We win. We get to the championship, playing against Argentina and Argentina. And Nicolo, I cannot remember how to say his last name. Brucinelli, something like that. But he was from the city that we were playing in against their team. So he had so many fans there. And we actually went down by 20 points. And I decided to tell Coach, look, Coach, I'm not playing so well. Reggie's playing really good. Give Reggie my playing time so that we can win this gold medal. Reggie Hearn goes in the game, and he starts to kill it. He's such a good shooter, and a good shooter isn't enough. Great shooter. And he actually turned the game around for us, and we ended up winning the gold medal in Argentina. They were not too happy. But so after that, I found out that the Clippers had watched me during that time, and I got an opportunity to go to training camp with them. When I get to training camp, I'm playing, I'm working hard, and I'm doing everything I'm asked to and more. And then we go to Hawaii. When we go to Hawaii, I noticed that I was playing with the guys that were regularly playing, not with just the guys that were there for the tryout. So I kind of got a little bit of relief. I'm like, maybe I made the team. And so Doc Rivers calls me into his office right as soon as the preseason ends. And I'm thinking that they're letting me know that I'm going to the G League. So I was mentally prepared for that. And then he tells me that they signed me to a 2-way contract. It was one of the best moments of my life. I finally accomplished my dream of making it to the NBA. So I start out in the G League on my 2-way contract, and then they call me back up because we get hit with the injury bug. When we get hit with the injury bug, it allowed me to dress out for the game. So I'm dressing out, being a good teammate, cheering my teammates on, doing everything, doing all the extra work that I was asked to do. And then we get more injuries. And so Doc comes to me before the game in Minnesota. I'll never forget it. I had only played a couple minutes here and there, and we land in Minnesota. We get to shoot around, and he's talking about the game plan. When he calls out the names for the starting lineup, he mentions my name. And I look, and everyone looks at me, and I'm just like, what? Like, he's like, come on, you're going to start. You got to guard Jimmy Butler. I said, okay, cool. Go into the game, played very well, hit 2 threes, played good defense, didn't play much. We had Lou Will coming off the bench. So, you're only going to play so much in front of Lou Will. And it led to the confidence that I needed for the rest of the season. I started starting more games. Some games I came off the bench, some games I started. So we get to the month of, I believe, January. And at this point, I've been a regular starter. Guys are coming back from injury, but we were rolling at the time, so Doc stuck with us. And we're going, and we have a rough week coming up. We're playing Atlanta. Play against the Atlanta Hawks. And I had a very good game. I was being consistently aggressive while making my shots and taking the right shots. And we get to the last play. It's about, 20 seconds left. And obviously, we're drawing the play up for Lou Will. Lou Will gets the ball. He gets into his move. I'm in the corner, and he shoots it. As he shoots it, I remember Doc always told us, if you are in the corner, run from the corner to the free throw line, you can get an offensive rebound. So I run through the elbow at the free throw line, and the ball careens off the rim and goes into Wesley Johnson's hand. When Wesley catches it, I just instantly, out of instinct, said, Wes. And he looks at me and he hands it to me. And when he gets it to me, I'm like, uh-oh, I have the ball. So I then start to go into my move. And when I start to go into my move, I realize I don't want to go to the basket. So I decide to do a step back. When I do my step back, I let go of the ball. As soon as I shoot the ball, in my head, I'm like, that's going in. I know it is. And so instead of watching the ball go in, my mind is on, well, what do I do to celebrate? Because I knew it was going in. It goes in, and all I could think of was nodding my head because I knew that I was where I belonged. So it turned out to be the game winner. And that was, man, gives me goosebumps to this day, just remembering what I saw and remembering that play specifically. Unfortunately, within the month, I ended up getting hurt and had to go. I sprained my ankle really badly and had to go back to the G League for a little bit. Then I came back up, and I ended up actually signing a 3-year deal with the Clippers. But what ended up happening is over the summer, we ended up signing too many veterans, and so I had to be the first one to let go. And I ended up signing another 2-way with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'll get into it later. This is the Jimmy Butler era of when he was leaving. So I'll get into that another time. Yes, I was on his team. But we had a rough beginning of the season. We hit a couple injuries, as you always do in the NBA. And then I spent a lot of time with the NBA team, and then they let Coach Tibbs go and sign Ryan Saunders, and I spent a little bit less time up at the top. And I went through a lot, emotionally, mentally, going from a 3-year deal with the Clippers to being back on a 2-way again in Minnesota, being with the NBA team a lot to, now being in the G League more. Just a lot of ups and downs, and it was hard on me mentally. So I will admit that I made a lot of ill-advised decisions during this time. Nothing too bad, but just wasn't doing what I should have been doing. And that led to not re-signing with the Timberwolves. I went to training camp with the Brooklyn Nets, and unfortunately, after that, went to the G League and COVID. During COVID, I was one of those people that was not going to be outside. I was inside for 6 straight months. Didn't even work out, didn't do anything, just kind of tried to, I guess, enjoy my time off. And it then led to me deciding finally after 6 months, you know what, I need to work out. This is what I do. This is my job. Like, I need to start working out. Guys were already overseas again and stuff like that. And I decided that I wanted to play overseas again. So I signed a deal to play in France again, in the southwest of France, one of my favorite cities now, Po. And we had a very, very talented team, a super talented team. From Justin Bibbins to Jay Threet to V. Sanford, Peter Cornely. I'm going to try to say his name correctly. Amadi Ndai, Big H, D. Gay, Gerald, just so many people to name. We had a very good team, and we started out kind of slow when I first arrived there. I was getting back into shape. Game shape is nothing. There's nothing that can emulate game shape. And then we hit a stride, and we won 12 of our last 16 games, or 12 of our last 17 games. I'm sorry, and beat like some really, really good teams that year. And so I assumed that we were going to run it back. We were going to come back, and unfortunately, they decided not to let me come back, and I ended up taking a deal to go to Turkey. This was another rough mental year. It just wasn't a fit. It just was not a fit. A lot of things were misconstrued and misunderstood on my part and their part. And it's okay. That's a part of business. So I ended up not finishing the year. I came back and I ended up signing a deal, which is now was last season. Last season in Israel, and another, miscommunication, misunderstanding that led to me kind of, asking them to let me go because it just was not beneficial to my career, beneficial to me as a basketball player. The style of play did not fit me whatsoever. So I asked to be let go, and I ended up going back to Po. And when I got to Po, it was a little rough, just from the beginning of the season to where I signed, it had been rough for them already. But I was just happy to be in a place where, I was familiar. I was happy playing and being able to, be in a comfortable place. And we ended up, unfortunately, not doing as good as we wanted to. And they ended up getting relegated to Pro B. And that leads to now where I'm here in Romania, and my team is, I guess you could say, overachieving. We played very, very well up until now, and it's we're starting the second half of the season, and I'm excited to see where we play ourselves into, what position we can get to. We're going to push very hard for the playoffs. It's going to be tough. There are a lot of good teams that are in this group, but we're going to make that push to the top 10. I mean, to the playoffs. I'm sorry. And that's kind of what my career has been up until this point. Thank you guys for listening, and subscribe, like, share, and I hope to talk to you soon.